Pastor Thomas Rogers, pastor of the Antioch Church in North Carolina, has endorsed Donald Trump, as well, I guess, as his church has. And he's going to do an interview along with his daughter with Roland Martin. What he was saying didn't make a lot of sense to me. And some of the things that he said basically sounded a bit ridiculous. I do not want to disparage the pastor or his daughter. I don't know them, and they may very well be, and I hope that they are very good people. But there were so many troubling comments that they made. Number one, they're endorsing a man that has made a lot of outrageous statements. Two, they've never met him. They dealt with, I guess, his surrogates in North Carolina. Three, they can't really espouse any thing that Mr. Trump wants to do that could be seen as a net positive for their own members. Four, some of the things that Pastor Rogers says are troubling, let us say. And five, they haven't really even heard any specifics on what Mr. Trump wants to do yet. This pastor is quoting scripture out of the book of Numbers, where some of the people of Israel were disgruntled on their way to the promised land. Okay, but at least Moses espoused a vision, a goal, and a destination. Donald Trump hasn't done any of those things. So, again, I'm troubled. But anyway, let me play this interview that the pastor and his daughter gave to Roland Martin. And, you know, it is what it is. It just, in my mind, it's just troubling. You know, again, I don't want to disparage the pastor or his daughter or his church, but it's just troubling.
The Black Church in Charlotte, North Carolina held a rally a couple of weeks ago where church members all endorsed Donald Trump. Now, it's against the rules for a church to endorse, but there are members of the church who actually endorse. The church is Antioch Road to Glory International Ministries, based in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so again, they had that huge rally there. There were a number of folks who were there from the Trump campaign, including Laura Trump. You see the photo we have here. This was her speaking at that particular event as well. And so joining us right now to talk about that, Laura is Trump's daughter-in-law. Quote, the church is led by Pastor Thomas Rogers, and most of the congregation is said to be behind the church's decision. Here's some of the video from there.
It's not about upsetting anyone. It's not about choosing sides. It's about change. The church right now, we have full support. No one has been asked to vote or swing one way or the other.
They're ready to change. America needs change. And I think because they're not right wing, they're not left wing, they're not liberal. And he's a businessman and a person. And I think the Democratic Party would be a major disaster right now.
You see African Americans actually waking up and making decisions is different. For 52 years, this church feels like the Democratic Party has failed them.
All right, folks, joining us right now, the church's executive secretary and the pastor's daughter, Katrina Rogers. She supports her father's decision. We also have Pastor Rogers here. Welcome to News One Now.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Question for both of you. First of all, have either one of you actually met with Donald Trump?
We have not met with Mr. Donald Trump personally at this time. but we have been engaged through his North Carolina State Director, Mr. Earl Phillips.
Listen to that video there, Apostle Thomas Rogers. You said that you're supporting him for change. Like what? What specifically?
Well, it's very specifically in the book of Exodus, Numbers, chapter 15, verse 24 to verse 29. There's an ignorant spirit among our people. And as God sent Moses to help him go to the promised land, there was some resentment. Mr. Martin, we have the largest penal system in the world. We have the largest homeless population in the world. We had more gangbangers in Chicago, California. So what my aims and objectives is to seek dual citizenship from the United Nations.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got a question for you. You talked about our prison population. I have not heard a single speech from Donald Trump that was specific to how we deal with mass incarceration in the United States. So if that's one of the reasons why you're supporting him, he's never even spoken on it. Why would you back him if he's never even addressed it?
Before he even goes there, that pastor said that he's seeking dual citizenship under the United Nations. Why do we have to seek dual citizenship under the United Nations when we're here and we have citizenship in America, and it's America that needs to address our problems? Dual citizenship under the United Nations is not going to do a damn thing for us, because the United Nations really doesn't have any power, especially with the United States pretty much controlling a lot of the actions of the UN. So what he just said doesn't really make any sense.
My aims and objective is that when the United States was set up by America, it was the people that govern, and the president, he's a leader. I think that we African Americans need a vision. The Bible says in Proverbs 28:19, where there's no vision, the people perish.
I understand that, sir, but we said there's no vision, the people perish, but Donald Trump has not offered a vision for the people to even pay attention to. Literally, like I said, Katrina, maybe you can answer the question for me. I have not heard Donald Trump give a single speech on mass incarceration in this country. You have 10% of all HBCUs right there in North Carolina. I have not heard an HBCU plan from Donald Trump dealing with North Carolina. As I just said to Ashley Bell, voter suppression. You have one of the worst voter suppression laws in North Carolina right there. I have not heard Donald Trump condemn that, so I'm trying to understand what is the rationale, what the reasoning for you and your church endorsing Donald Trump when he has not spoken on any of these issues.
Mr. Rowland, in all due respect, quite frankly, you're quite factual in some of that.
I'm factual in some of it or all of it? Because I'm factual in all of it.
As far as saying all of it, what we're doing, we're repositioning ourselves. And instead of letting the politician come to us with the policy, we actually went to the politician this time with the policy.
But here's the problem, Katrina. You just said you haven't even met with Donald Trump. So
exactly. But I've been working through the protocols of his chain commanders and speaking with his officials, Earl Phillips, and those of the Trump campaign that's here in North Carolina. They've been our vehicle as far as trying to get this information in front of him. And so we can move forward on making sure the same thing that most Democrats have done. I mean, it's been in their hands for a long time. Our voice and people, we dealing with these issues under a Democratic majority now.
All right, let me stop her right there. I'm missing something here. She indicates that instead of waiting for a politician to come to them with policy, that they are taking policy to the politician. But at the same time, they haven't met with Donald Trump. So my question is this. You're coming up with policy, and then you're taking it, I guess, to Trump's North Carolina state campaign leader. What evidence do you have that he, in turn, has been able to get it up to Mr. Trump? And if so, what is Mr. Trump's response? You know, you're crying in the wilderness, and expecting, somebody to hear it that's far off, and then you're operating through, if not multiple people in between, intercessionaries, you're at least operating through one. So if you're operating through that one who hopefully has direct access to Donald Trump, and you've given him your policy proposals, what has Donald Trump's response been? And in my opinion, there isn't any response because he probably hasn't even seen them, and yet you're supporting this guy. It makes no sense.
So,
But
again, we're
that's
not
actually
politicians to come to us to.
But Katrina, let me correct you. First of all, in your state, you have a Republican governor, a Republican legislature.
Certainly.
Okay, right now in Congress.
I'm talking about overall.
No, Katrina, you're wrong. Right now, Republicans control 31 of the 50 governor's mansions in the country. Right now, Republicans control a majority of the state legislatures. Right now, the Republicans control the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. So when you say we have a Democrats are running the country, that is factually incorrect.
Well, Democrats have been in a majority since 1964 moving forward.
Where?
Everywhere throughout America.
That is simply not true. 1964, Democratic president. 1968, Republican was elected. 1972, Republican was elected. 1976, Democrat was elected. 1980, Republican. 1984, Republican. 1988, Republican. 1992 and 96, Democrat. 2000 and 2004 were Republicans. 2008 and 12, Democrats. What you're saying is factually incorrect, but I'm still trying to understand.
Before he goes there, basically, if you look at the state of North Carolina, once the Civil Rights Acts were passed, the state of North Carolina has been predominantly controlled by Republicans for the most part. So the actual conditions that your parishioners are facing have been more so directly impacted by the governors and the state legislatures of North Carolina, which have been predominantly Republican. So, you're trying to talk about a macro level where the micro level, which has direct effect upon you, has been Republican.
Say you want change, and you mention criminal justice, and you mention other issues. I'm just trying to understand, what did you put before the Trump campaign that caused your church to say, we want to endorse Donald Trump en masse? Apostle Rogers.
Yes, thank you. As I said earlier, the Bible says, where there's no vision, the people perish. We politicians, we mean well, but there are some people out here that have a better plan for God's people. We have in our portfolio today to take a great plan to Mr. Trump.
What's the plan? What's in your plan?
Dual citizenship. The right to return here, build a new Africa, 4,000 miles of highways, all grids from the Indian.
I'm sorry, but dual citizenship is not going to work. And for somebody to espouse that it troubles me.
And we mean well, but there are some people out here that have a better plan for God's people. We have in our portfolio today to take a great plan to Mr. Trump.
What's the plan? What's in your plan?
Dual citizenship. The right to return here, build a new Africa, 4,000 miles of highways, all grids from the Indian Ocean into the Atlantic Ocean, creating jobs for young people. All meals.
One second, Pastor Rogers. You just said building a highway from across the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian. You said
Indian Ocean.
You said building a highway from the United States to Africa.
No, I know better than that. You both.
No. I'm trying to. You said across the Indian Ocean.
No, from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, a place where we came from. And in the United Nations Charter, there's a thing called place to return. So we African Americans, after next year, whoever gets in, we still will have homeless people and unemployed people, gangbangers, prison population. So it's up to us to bring forth leadership from the cloth.
So you believe that
I'm missing something here. He was talking about building some kind of a bridge from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean. I don't know if he meant all the way over here, but that's kind of what it sounded like. You can't do that. But that being said, he then mentioned something about the United Nations and a place to return. So is he actually advocating that all of the displaced African American people should return to Africa? He's talking about gangbangers and the incarcerated, and I'm assuming, that makes an ass out of you and me, that he's talking about the poor, socially distressed people need to return to Africa. And that's kind of what it sounded like he was saying, and I'm shaking my head here.
that Donald Trump is going to endorse this?
I hope he will. I believe he will.
So this was the basis of your endorsement of Donald Trump?
Business-minded, yes, business-minded.
Okay.
When Moses went down to Egypt, he did not argue with Pharaoh. He spoke 5 words. Pharaoh, let my people go. We will not benefit under no party. We need a home.
But I got to ask you this question.
Okay, so why are you supporting Trump when you just said we won't benefit under any party and we need our own? So why endorse Trump? Why not just form your own party and go from there? This pastor is moving around quite a bit.
Donald Trump ran a casino company that lost $1 billion worth of value in a decade, while he made $39 million. He's filed for bankruptcy on 4 different occasions. He has stiffed a number of small business owners when it comes to paying them for their services. And so when you say he's been a successful businessman, that's the kind of person you want running the country, Katrina? Somebody who has stiffed small business owners, who ran a casino company into the ground, who filed for bankruptcy on 4 different occasions?
He didn't mention about the loss of a discrimination lawsuit, housing discrimination lawsuit, where he refused to rent to African Americans in his properties in New York. And he also didn't mention a recent case down in Florida where he refused to pay a contractor that had completed his work, and the contractor had to sue him. And the defense that the Trump people put out there was that Mr. Trump believes that he's paid enough for the job and didn't want to pay anymore in violation of the contract, which in turn ticked the judge off to the point that he found for the plaintiff, and it was only $34,000, and that he immediately filed the paperwork to put the property into foreclosure, of which Mr. Trump turned around and obviously he put the $34,000 into escrow to stop the foreclosure, but the judge further stipulated that Mr. Trump had to pay an additional $300,000 in the attorney fees for the plaintiff. So to me, that the fact that he was trying to stiff this guy for $34,000 and it ended up costing him $334,000 doesn't seem, in my mind, to be a prudent business decision.
Listen, Mr. Martin, in all due respect, we are not here as a radical political group. We're not here trying to change anybody's mind. We took a stand on to what our position were, especially coming from the Christian world. And so we're putting a challenge out there to everybody, both Republican and Democrat, to use this time to use their voice as a currency and to wager our voice to each of the candidates to make sure that our cause be heard both on the Democratic side and the Republican side.
Okay. All right. Apostle Rogers, Katrina Rogers, we appreciate you joining us right on TV One News One now. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, but what she just said doesn't make sense because they've endorsed Trump. If you wanted to press both sides, you don't endorse one side against the other. You withhold your endorsement and you approach both sides and try to get them both to move. So, again, this was troubling. Now, here's the panel that comes in, and honestly, they started laughing because it just, a lot of the things that they said just didn't make sense. And again, and I don't want to disparage the pastor, his daughter, or the church, but if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. You have to have something to hang your hats on.
Let's go to our panel here. Douglas Sloan, Principal and Senior Analyst with the National Capital Group. Amber Phillips, Co-Director of Black. Eugene Craig III, Vice Chair of the Maryland Republican Party.
Appreciate being on. I don't know where to start here. First and foremost, these guys broke rule number one of endorsing somebody. You first meet with the person. You size them up. You make sure they're worth your endorsement. Secondly, one, they don't got a plan, and Team Trump don't got a plan. I'm going to say this. I'm a Republican. I'm a young black Republican. I'm a vice chair of a state party. I have not endorsed Donald Trump for a reason. Particularly, he has no plan on criminal justice reform. Just like my brother Ashley, I'm a member of a group called 2020 that, sole focus is criminal justice reform. And, that's my number one issue this cycle. And, I cannot get behind a presidential candidate that does not have a plan. Thirdly, this is America, the greatest country in the world. For a candidate that's vehemently anti-immigrant, I'm 99.999% sure he's not going to support dual citizenship with somewhere else.
I didn't understand where they were coming from, and what kept popping into my mind was, these people sound like Sarah Palin. I just couldn't get a handle on what he was saying or where he was coming from. He was talking about a bridge over the Indian Ocean. Does he realize the Indian Ocean harbors the deepest trench in the world, the Marianas Trench in the Indian Ocean? It goes 7 miles down. They can't even build a bridge from Puerto Rico to the New Virgin Islands because of the depth of the ocean. I didn't understand what he was talking about.
I think this is also highlighting the fact that, one, black people are not a monolith. And that's also how Trump is approaching the campaign and how sometimes all folks who are running for national politics approach this work. But I think the more I would like to throw it back in, because I feel bad for them, that sometimes not all of our beliefs are steeped in facts, but then additionally putting this back to the grander issue that, as a Republican, as a young black Republican, what are you all doing to push this man to either A, be more inclusive, to represent you better? Because I hear a lot of folks trying to distance themselves from Donald Trump, but at the end of the day, not making a decision against him.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll answer that. First and foremost, Donald Trump has recently brought on the A-team. I think there's a couple things that matter when it comes to presidential campaigns. First, you need somebody there that has direct access to the candidate. That's Omarosa. Secondly, the RNC has brought on an A-team, Elroy Saylor, Ashley Bell.
He said Omarosa. He had the nerve to say she's part of an A-team, Omarosa. That's why we got trouble. That's one of the reasons why we got trouble.
And Shannon Reeves.
With 90 days
Whose focus is to work up and down the ballot to help folk like a Kathy Szeliga in Maryland or Lee McAllister out of Pennsylvania. So, Donald Trump, he's going to be Donald Trump. And, quite frankly, we'll see what happens.
Let me say this here. I am not opposed to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. I don't subscribe to any party. What I do want are answers. And the problem I have is you're not getting answers from this Trump campaign. You're not getting any policy specifics. I have asked, we were at the Republican National Convention, interviewed numerous people, and I even had one woman who was a delegate from Long Island who said, I'm sorry, I'm not hearing any specifics. The issue that I have is when you cannot offer a vision for the country,
You don't
That's
deserve to
the
run it.
problem. This for me. This is about the presidency. This is not about bringing anybody on and embarrassing. Look, Ashley's a great guy. I've known Ashley over the last several years, but he understands that when the party's not doing their job, they make it difficult. I've talked to many longtime Black Republicans who are frustrated with what the party's lack of speaking to critical issues that relate to African Americans. But the point here is, if you can't answer basic questions,
Yep.
then that's a problem when it comes to the presidency.
Absolutely.
I
It's a
don't
problem.
understand how he made it through the vetting process of the Republican primaries
Easy.
Well,
without
that's why-
offering
let me
any
tell you something. Let me tell you
specifics.
something.
He just gives outcomes
No, well,
and no policies.
70% of Republicans voted for somebody not
There you go.
named Donald
Bottom line
Trump.
is, 17 people ran. You didn't need to get 50%.
He had 20 he said
And
25%.
I understand
Right, and that's how he
He
won.
played the rules.
There you go. So bottom line is,
Whose fault is this? I'm asking you. Whose fault is this that you have this guy leading the Republican Party?
okay,
Is this on rinse? Is this on rinse?
it's not. It's happened in the Democratic Party. Yes, actually, if 17 people ran,
Nothing like this has ever happened in the Democratic Party.
You guys
One
voted for Hillary.
second.
Yeah.
One second.
Which is better than Trump.
If 17 people ran and one person picked up a third of the vote, they could win. The bottom line is, in the primary, voters voted for Trump. That's what they wanted. That's what they got. Now you got to live with it. I got to go to a break. When we come.
All right. So anyway, that last bit was a little, let us say, incoherent as far as people talking over each other. But the main focus of this is, that Pastor Thomas out of North Carolina does not really impress me as someone who has a grasp of all the facts or lack thereof. And hopefully he has some time to reflect on his decision to endorse Mr. Trump and takes a look under the hood to see that the engine is missing and changes his mind.